The German shepherd hit the cobblestones hard. His body twisted sideways as the black dress shoe connected with his ribs. A sound escaped him that Sergeant Leona Carter had never heard in 6 years of partnership. Not a bark, not a growl, a cry, raw and broken and terrifyingly human. Rex, her partner, her family, the only living thing that understood the weight she carried home every single night. Leona's knees slammed into the uneven stones as she threw herself toward him. Blood from her split lip dripped onto her Navy uniform. Her left eye was already swelling shut from the backhand she had taken 30 seconds ago. The radio on her shoulder crackled with static. Backup was 7 minutes out. 7 minutes might as well be 7 years when someone you love is bleeding on the ground in front of you. Have you ever watched someone hurt the one thing you love most in this world? Have you ever felt that helplessness burn through your chest like acid? If you have, then you know exactly what Leona felt in that moment. And if you haven't, stay with me. Because what happens next will change everything you think you know about courage, about loyalty, and about the heroes who walk among us every single day. But before we go any further, I need you to do something important. If stories about loyalty, sacrifice, and justice matter to you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. Because this story is just getting started, and trust me when I say you do not want to miss what comes next. The man standing over Rex wore a blue floral shirt that cost more than Leona made in a week. His slick-back dark hair gleamed with expensive product. His smile revealed teeth too white to be natural. Kyle Braddock. The neighborhood called him Bull. The courts called him untouchable. 3 assault charges dismissed over the past 4 years. 2 witnesses who suddenly forgot what they saw when it came time to testify. 1 veteran detective who took early retirement after Bull's lawyers made his life completely impossible. Bull stepped back from Rex and adjusted his cuffs like he was leaving a routine business meeting instead of standing in the middle of Morrison Street with a bleeding police officer at his feet. 2 men in expensive dark suits flanked Leona from behind. She recognized them immediately. Marcus Chun and Dominic Valenti. Bull's shadows. His enforcers. They were laughing. Actually laughing out loud. Like this was entertainment. Like Rex whimpering on the cold gray stones was the funniest thing they had seen all week. Marcus grabbed Leona's shoulder and squeezed until his fingers dug into muscle. His breath was hot against her ear. "You picked the wrong guy to pull over today, sweetheart." Leona's hand moved toward her holster, a reflex born from 12 years of training. Dominic caught her wrist before she got halfway there, twisted hard. The pain shot up her arm like electricity, but she did not make a sound. She would not give them that satisfaction. Not today. Not ever. Rex tried to stand. His front legs pushed against the cobblestones with everything he had, but his back end would not cooperate. He collapsed again. His dark brown eyes found Leona's face. In 6 years of partnership, those eyes had told her everything she needed to know. When a suspect was lying. When a building was too dangerous to enter. When she had worked too long and needed to go home. Right now, those eyes were asking her a question she could not answer. "Why aren't you helping me?" Bull crouched down to Rex's level. The dog tried to growl, but it came out as a pitiful whine. Bull reached out and patted Rex's head like he was greeting a friend's family pet at a weekend barbecue. "Good boy," Bull said. His voice was smooth and calm. The voice of a man who had never faced a single real consequence in his entire privileged life. "You should have stayed in the car, buddy. This little situation here is strictly between me and your handler." The blue Maserati parked behind Bull purred at idle. Its engine was the only thing on this entire street that sounded peaceful. Pedestrians had scattered the moment the confrontation started. Smart people. The kind who knew that being a witness to Bull Braddock's activities was a fast track to serious problems. Leona's radio crackled again. "Unit 47, what's your current status?" She could not reach it. Dominic still had her wrist locked in his grip. Marcus still had her shoulder pinned. And Bull was standing up now, brushing off his designer pants, looking at her like she was something unpleasant stuck to the bottom of his expensive Italian shoes. "Here's the thing about being a cop in this city," Bull said. He walked toward her slowly, each step deliberate and measured. "You get to wear that shiny badge. You get to feel important and powerful. But at the end of the day, you're still just a person. And people can be broken. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Something expensive, something with a French name she could not pronounce. Your dog learned that particular lesson today. Bull continued. Now it's your turn. Leona met his eyes. She did not look away. She had stared down murderers in interrogation rooms. She had walked into crack houses alone when backup was too far away. She had held the hand of a dying teenager on a hot sidewalk in July while his mother screamed behind police tape. Kyle Braddock did not scare her. What scared her was the sound Rex made when he tried to stand again. And failed again. Bull raised his hand. Leona braced for impact. And then she heard something that changed absolutely everything. Footsteps, heavy and fast, coming from somewhere behind the Maserati. Running footsteps, combat boots on cobblestone. Bull turned his head. Marcus and Dominic turned too. Their grips loosened just slightly. Just enough. And Leona saw him. A man in military camouflage. Built like a concrete wall wrapped in steel cable. Moving like something that had been specifically trained to end threats before they ever became actual problems. He was not slowing down. Rex's ears perked up despite the pain. Even through his injuries, the dog sensed it immediately. Something had shifted in the air of that cobblestone street. Something that smelled like hope. Or maybe like war. The tackle came from absolutely nowhere. 1 second, Bull was standing over Leona with his hand raised to strike. The very next second, he was airborne. His body left the ground completely. His arms pinwheeled through the air. His mouth opened in pure surprise. Then he hit the cobblestones with a sound like a side of beef dropped from a loading dock. The man in camouflage did not pause, did not hesitate, did not even seem to breathe hard. He flowed from the tackle into a controlled position like water finding its natural path downhill. Smooth, inevitable, unstoppable. Marcus released Leona's shoulder and charged forward. Big mistake. The stranger's elbow caught him in the solar plexus without the rest of his body seeming to move at all. Marcus doubled over instantly. Then a knee came up fast. Then Marcus was on the ground right next to his boss, gasping for air like a fish flopping on a dry dock. Dominic was smarter, or maybe just more cowardly when facing real opposition. He released Leona's wrist and backed away quickly with both hands raised in surrender. His eyes were wide as dinner plates. The laughter from 30 seconds ago had completely evaporated from his face. Leona scrambled to Rex on her hands and knees. Her hands ran over his body with practiced efficiency, checking for breaks, checking for internal bleeding. The dog licked her face. His tail made a weak but determined attempt at wagging. She wanted to cry right there on the street. She absolutely refused to cry. The stranger had bullpinned face down on the cold gray stones. One knee pressed firmly into the small of Bull's back. Both of Bull's arms were twisted behind him at angles that looked painful. The stranger's rough hands controlled both wrists with what appeared to be absolutely zero effort. Bull's face was pressed hard against the cobblestones. The exact same stones Rex had hit when Bull kicked him. There was a certain poetry in that irony. "Do you even know who I am?" Bull snarled through gritted teeth. His voice was muffled by the ground. "My lawyers will absolutely destroy you. I will own your house. I will own your car. I will own your entire pathetic life." The stranger did not respond to the threats. His face was completely expressionless. His breathing was steady and controlled. He looked like a man waiting for a bus on a Tuesday afternoon. Leona studied him carefully while her hands continued checking Rex. Late 30s, maybe early 40s. Jaw like it was carved from solid granite. Eyes the color of winter ice over a frozen lake. A scar ran from his left eyebrow to his hairline. Old, faded, but definitely still visible. Those ice-colored eyes met hers across the distance. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he nodded toward Rex. "How bad?" he asked. His voice was low and calm, the voice of someone who had seen far worse than this. Leona swallowed. "I don't know for certain. Maybe cracked ribs. He can't stand." The stranger's jaw tightened slightly, just enough for Leona to notice the change. He looked down at Bull still pinned beneath him. "You kicked the dog," the stranger said flatly. His voice had not changed pitch. Still calm, still level, but something dangerous underneath. It made the hair on Leona's arm stand up. Bull laughed. It was a nervous laugh. The kind of laugh people make when they realize they might have made a serious error. It's just a mutt. Just some police dog. You really think anyone important is going to care? I care. 2 words. They landed like hammers on an anvil. The stranger increased pressure on Bull's arms. Bull's laughter transformed instantly into a sharp intake of breath, into a whimper of pain, into the exact same sound Rex had made when Bull's expensive shoe connected with his ribs. Police sirens wailed somewhere in the distance. Getting closer. Backup was almost here at last. Marcus was still on the ground, struggling desperately to breathe. Dominic had not moved from his spot against the wall. Leona's radio crackled. Unit 47, backup is 1 minute out. Confirm your current status. She reached for the radio with hands that were shaking. Scene is controlled. 1 officer injured. 1K. 9 down with serious injuries. Need animal control, an emergency vet on standby. Copy that, 47. Help is on the way. Help. Such a simple word with such enormous weight. Leona had been in law enforcement for 12 years. She had learned early that help was not something you waited for. Help was something you created. Help was something you became when others needed it. But sometimes, help showed up when you least expected it. In camouflage and combat boots. With hands that knew how to control violence, and eyes that had clearly seen too much of it. Who are you? Leona asked directly. The stranger looked at her again. That same measured gaze. That same winter ice. To someone who was walking by, he said simply. Leona did not believe that for a single second. Bull twisted beneath the stranger's grip. Let me up right now. I have rights. This is assault and battery. What my lawyers hear about. The stranger leaned down close. His mouth was inches from Bull's ear. Whatever he whispered made Bull go completely and utterly still. Not just stop struggling still. Frozen still. Prey that just spotted a predator still. Rex whimpered again softly. Leona pulled him closer to her chest. His heart was beating much too fast under her palm. The first patrol car rounded the corner, lights flashing red and blue. Then a second. Then a third. The stranger looked at the approaching vehicles. Then back at Leona. Then down at Rex lying injured on the stones. Get him to a vet, he said firmly. Not a suggestion. A command. Right now. Don't wait for paperwork. And in his voice, Leona heard something she had not expected at all. Not anger. Not authority. It was concern. Real genuine concern. For a dog he had never met. From a man who had appeared from absolutely nowhere and changed everything in under 60 seconds. The vet said Rex would live. 3 cracked ribs in his midsection. Severe bruising to both kidneys. Possible internal bleeding that they were monitoring closely hour by hour. But he would live. Leona sat in the hard plastic chair of the emergency animal hospital waiting room and let that single word wash over her like a wave. Live. Such a small, simple word to carry so much enormous weight. The harsh fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The waiting room chairs were uncomfortable hard plastic. The coffee from the vending machine tasted like someone had dissolved an old tire in lukewarm water. None of those small discomforts mattered. Rex was going to live. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Captain Morrison. She let go to voicemail. It buzzed again. She let go again. 3rd time, she finally answered. Carter, where the hell are you right now? I've got 3 suspects sitting and holding, a dozen witnesses who can't agree on what exactly happened, and some mystery man who completely disappeared before anyone could get a proper statement. What in God's name is going on? Leona closed her tired eyes. The purple bruise on her face throbbed painfully. Her wrist still ached where Dominic had twisted it. Rex is at the emergency vet, she said quietly. I'm not leaving until I know he's completely stable. A pause on the other end. Then Morrison's gruff voice softened. Just slightly. How bad is it? Bad enough that it could have killed him. But he's going to make it. Another pause. Take the night off. We'll handle the paperwork. But I need you in my office tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock sharp. This whole Braddock thing is going to get complicated fast. Leona hung up without saying goodbye. Complicated. That was one word for the situation. Bull Braddock's wealthy father owned half the commercial real estate in the city. His uncle sat on the city council. His lawyers billed more per hour than Leona made in a day. Complicated was a massive understatement. She thought about the stranger who had intervened, the man in military camouflage who had appeared like a direct answer to a prayer she had not even known she was making. He had disappeared completely before the first officers even reached the scene. One moment he was there, controlling Bull with those impossibly steady hands. The next moment he was gone, vanished like smoke on a windy day, like a ghost who had never existed. Just someone who was walking by, right? And she was the Queen of England. The door to the waiting room opened with a soft creak. Leona looked up quickly, expecting a vet technician with news about Rex's condition. It was him. The stranger stood in the doorway. He had changed out of the military camouflage. Now he wore simple blue jeans and a plain gray t-shirt that stretched tight across shoulders that looked like they could carry the weight of the world. He held 2 large cups of steaming coffee. Real coffee, from the rich smell of it. "Thought you might need this," he said simply. He crossed the room and held out one of the cups toward her. Leona took it carefully. Their fingers brushed briefly during the handoff. His hands were rough, heavily calloused. Working hands. Fighting hands. "How did you know I was here?" she asked. He sat down 2 chairs away. Not too close. Not too far. Only emergency vet hospital in the area. "And you told dispatch to have one on standby. You were listening to my police radio?" I was paying attention. There was again that measured calm in everything he did and said. That sense that every action was deliberate and calculated. Not cold or mechanical. Professional. The way a skilled surgeon operates. The way a veteran pilot lands a plane. "You left the scene before I could get your name for the report," Leona pointed out. "I know. That's going to cause problems for me." "I know that too." Leona sipped the hot coffee slowly. It was perfect. Strong and bold. Hot, but not scalding. The good stuff. She wondered where he had found it at this late hour. "So why did you come back?" she asked quietly. The stranger looked at her steadily. Those ice-colored eyes held something she could not quite read. Pain maybe, or deep understanding, or possibly both. "Because I want to know if the dog was okay." Simple answer. Direct and honest. And somehow, Leona knew instinctively it was the complete truth. "He's going to make it," she said. "Cracked ribs that will heal. Some internal stuff they're monitoring. But he'll pull through. He's a fighter." The stranger nodded slowly. His broad shoulders relaxed slightly. Just enough to notice. "Good. That's very good news." Comfortable silence settled between them in the waiting room. Not awkward at all. Just present. Like 2 people who had shared something intense and did not feel any need to fill every moment with words. "I still need your full name," Leona said finally, "for the official report. I can't just write mysterious stranger tackled suspect." The corner of his mouth twitched upward. Almost a smile, but not quite. "Ethan," he said. "Ethan Mercer." Leona pulled out her phone and typed the name carefully into her notes. "And what exactly do you do, Ethan Mercer, when you're not tackling dangerous men and disappearing into thin air?" He was quiet for a moment. His jaw worked slightly, like he was deciding how much to share. "I used to be a Navy SEAL," he said finally. The words came out flat and matter-of-fact, like he was telling her he used to work at a grocery store. Leona's coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. A Navy SEAL. That explained the lightning-fast takedown. That explained the preternatural calm. That explained why a man built like a weapon moved through violence like water. "Used to be," she repeated slowly. Ethan's eyes drifted to the window, to the darkness pressing against the glass outside. "I retired," he said quietly. "Came back home to this city, looking for something I lost along the way." "What kind of something?" He did not answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Softer somehow, older despite his years. "Peace," he said. "I was looking for peace." The word hung in the air between them like morning fog. And Leona wondered if a man like Ethan Mercer would ever truly find what he was searching for. Or if some people were built for war so completely that peace would always feel like a foreign country where they could never quite learn a language. Ethan had not planned to be here tonight. He had been walking home from the hardware store on Maple Street. Simple errand. Simple day. The kind of ordinary day he had been trying to build for himself since leaving the teams 18 months ago. Normal. quiet, completely forgettable. Then he heard the dog cry. His body had moved before his conscious brain caught up with the situation. 16 years of elite military training does that to a person. You see a threat developing. You assess the tactical situation. You engage the enemy. Or you don't. There is no middle ground. There is no waiting around to see how things might play out. He had rounded the corner and seen everything in a single comprehensive glance. The female cop on her knees in the street. The German shepherd on the ground. The three men in expensive clothes with predator smiles. The way the tallest one drew back his leg for another vicious kick. Decision made. Target acquired. Execute. Now he sat in a fluorescent-lit veterinary waiting room across from a woman with a bruised face and tired eyes, wondering what exactly he was doing here. He could have left hours ago. Should have left. The local cops had the situation handled. The suspects were in custody. His intervention was complete. But the dog. Ethan had worked with military dogs overseas during his deployments. Belgian Malinois mostly. Fearless animals who would take a bullet for their handlers without hesitation. He had seen one named Ajax die in his arms in a small village outside Kandahar. The handler, a 22-year-old kid from Nebraska named Reeves, had not spoken a single word for 3 days after watching his partner bleed out. Some bonds cannot be explained with words. They can only be witnessed and respected. The sergeant's name was Leona Carter. He had gathered that from the radio chatter. 12 years on the force. K. 9 unit for 6 of them. The dog's name was Rex. She looked up from her coffee cup. What made you stop on that street? When you saw what was happening. Most people would have kept walking. Called 911 maybe, but you didn't just call. You personally engaged. Ethan considered the question. Considered telling her about Ajax and the desert. About Reeves and his 3 days of silence. About all the dogs he had watched save human lives and lose their own in places most Americans would never see. I heard him cry, he said instead. The dog. It sounded wrong. Wrong how? Like he didn't understand what was happening. Dogs understand anger. They understand threats. They know how to read situations. But that sound, he didn't understand why someone was hurting him when he was just doing his job. Trying to protect his partner. Leona's eyes glistened with moisture. She blinked rapidly, looked away toward the window. Rex is the best partner I've ever had, she said. Her voice caught slightly on the words. The only partner who has never let me down. Ethan heard what she was not saying out loud. The word only carried significant weight. It spoke of disappointments she was not ready to discuss with a stranger. Dogs are like that, he said. They don't know how to lie. Don't know how to quit. Don't know how to do anything except give everything they have. Every single day. Sounds like someone else I just met tonight. Ethan almost smiled at that. Almost, but not quite. The door to the treatment area opened with a soft click. A vet tech in blue scrubs stepped out into the waiting room. Sergeant Carter? Rex is stable now. You can see him if you'd like. He's asking for you. Leona stood so fast, she nearly knocked over a coffee cup. Asking for her. Of course they would phrase it that way. Of course Rex would be waiting. She paused at the door to the treatment area. Turned back to face him. Will you still be here? When I come out? Ethan should have said no. He had no reason to stay. No obligation. No connection to this woman or her dog beyond a chance encounter on a cobblestone street. But there was something in her tired eyes. Something familiar. The same thing he saw in his own mirror every morning when he faced another empty day of trying to figure out who he was without a rifle in his hands and a mission to accomplish. I'll be here, he said. Leona nodded once. Disappeared through the door to see her partner. And Ethan Mercer, retired Navy SEAL, sat alone in a fluorescent-lit waiting room and wondered why keeping that simple promise felt more important than anything he had done in the past 18 months. Rex was awake. He lay on a padded examination table, Furline running into his front leg, monitors beeping softly in the background. His tail thumped weakly against the padding when he saw Leona enter the room. Once, twice. Then it was too much effort, and he stopped trying. But his dark eyes stayed locked on her face, deep and full of everything that words could never adequately say. Hey, buddy, Leona whispered softly. She knelt beside the table, her hand finding the spot behind his ears that always made him lean into her palm. I'm here now. I'm right here with you. Rex made a small sound in response. Not a whine, not a bark, something in between. A greeting, an acknowledgement. And I was waiting for you. The vet, Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, stood on the other side of the table with a tablet in her hands. Her face was kind, but professionally composed. She had seen too many injured animals to get emotional, but she had not seen so many that she had forgotten how. The ribs will heal, Dr. Okonkwo said. 6 weeks, minimum rest. No duty, no running, no stairs if you can help it. My apartment is on the 3rd floor, Leonis said. No elevator in the building. Then you'll need to carry him up and down, or find somewhere else to stay temporarily. Carry him. Rex weighed 87 pounds of muscle and bone. Leona weighed 135 on a good day. The math was not encouraging. She thought about the man sitting in the waiting room. Ethan, the Navy SEAL who had appeared from nowhere and promised to stay. The one with shoulders that looked like they could carry anything without complaint. Stop it, she told herself firmly. You don't know him. You can't rely on him. You've learned that lesson before. But the thought persisted despite her objections. Dr. Okonkwo continued her instructions. The kidney bruising is what concerns me most. We'll monitor him overnight. If everything looks good in the morning, you can take him home. But any sign of blood in his urine, you bring him straight back here. Day or night. Do you understand? Leona nodded. Her hand never stopped moving on Rex's soft fur. Understood completely. The vet left them alone. Leona pulled a plastic chair close to the examination table and sat down at Rex's eye level. For a long time, neither of them moved. Just breathed. Just existed together in that small, quiet space. I'm sorry, Leona said finally. The words felt inadequate. Hollow, but they needed to be said out loud. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. I'm sorry I let him hurt you. I'm sorry I... Rex's tongue found her hand. Wet, warm, forgiving without question. Leona's composure finally cracked. The tears she had been holding back since Bull's first kick spilled over. Silent tears. Cop tears. The kind you learn to cry without making a sound, because showing weakness on the job gets people hurt. She cried for Rex, for the pain he did not deserve, for the confusion in his eyes when Bull's shoe connected with his ribs for no reason he could understand. She cried for herself, for the helplessness of being held while someone hurt the one thing she loved most, for the 12 years of service that could not protect her when she needed it. She cried for her last partner, her human partner, Michael Reyes, the one who had died in a warehouse fire 3 years ago while she stood outside and screamed his name into the smoke and flames. The one whose absence Rex had somehow, impossibly, helped fill. The tears lasted 5 minutes, maybe 10. When they finally stopped, Leona felt empty inside. Hollow, like someone had scooped out everything and left only the shell behind. But Rex was still there, still watching her with those patient eyes, still loving her in that pure, uncomplicated way that only dogs truly understand. We're going to be okay, she told him. Her voice was rough, scraped raw, but steady. We're going to be okay. I promise you that. Rex's tail thumped once. He believed her completely. Of course he did. He had never learned how to doubt the people he loved. Leona stayed with him until visiting hours ended, until the vet tech gently informed her that Rex needed to rest and she needed to go home, until there was nothing left to do but walk back through those doors to the waiting room. She expected the room to be empty. It was not. Ethan Mercer sat in the same chair where she had left him hours ago. His eyes were closed. His breathing was even and steady. He looked like a man who could fall asleep anywhere, because he had learned to sleep in places where comfort did not exist. Leona stopped in the doorway, watched him for a moment in the silence. He had stayed. He said he would, and he actually had. Such a simple thing to do. Such an extraordinary thing. His eyes opened without transition. No grogginess. No confusion. 1 second asleep, the next completely alert. Combat reflexes. They never fully fade. How is he? Ethan asked. Stable. They're keeping him overnight for observation. I can take him home tomorrow if everything looks good. Ethan nodded slowly, stood up from the chair. His movements were economical. Nothing wasted. 3rd floor apartment, he said. No elevator. Leona blinked in surprise. How did you know about that? I was talking to the tech nearby. Walls are thin in this place. Of course, he had been listening. Of course, nothing escaped his attention. I can help, Ethan said. Tomorrow, getting him up the stairs. Leona should have said no. She should have told him she could handle it on her own. She should have maintained the fierce independence that 12 years of proving herself had built. But Rex weighed 87 pounds, and her arms were tired. And sometimes accepting help was not weakness. Sometimes it was wisdom. Okay, she said quietly. Tomorrow then. Ethan's eyes held hers for a moment. Then he walked past her toward the door. Get some sleep, he said. His voice was soft now, almost gentle. You've earned it. He disappeared through the door, into the night, just like he had done on Morrison Street hours ago. But this time, Leona knew he would be back, and she was not sure what that meant yet, was not sure what any of this meant. But standing alone in that waiting room, with the fluorescent lights humming and the vending machine rattling and Rex healing somewhere behind those doors, she felt something she had not felt in a very long time. Something dangerous. Something that had a way of changing everything it touched. Hope. Ethan carried Rex up 3 flights of stairs like the dog weighed nothing at all. Leona walked behind them, watching the muscles in his back work beneath the gray t-shirt. Rex's head rested against Ethan's broad chest. The dog's eyes were half closed, sedated from the pain medication the vet had given him that morning. His tail hung limp, but every few steps it would twitch slightly. Like even in his drug state, he knew he was being helped. He knew he was safe. The apartment building was old. The stairs creaked under their weight. The hallway smelled like decades of cooking and living and existing in close quarters. Leona fumbled with her keys at the door, while Ethan stood perfectly still, holding 87 pounds of German Shepherd like it was nothing more than a bag of groceries. Inside, she pointed to the couch. Ethan set Rex down gently. So gently, like he was placing a sleeping child in a crib. Rex's eyes opened briefly, found Ethan's face, then closed again. Thank you, Leona said. The words felt small, inadequate for what he had done, for what he was still doing. Ethan straightened up, looked around her apartment, not judging, just observing, taking in details. The photos on the wall, the service awards in frames, the picture of her and Rex at graduation from K-9 Academy. 6 years, he said. You and him. Best 6 years of my entire career. He nodded. His eyes landed on another photo. A younger Leona with a man in police uniform. Both of them laughing at something off camera. Both of them alive in a way that photographs sometimes capture and sometimes don't. Who was he? Ethan asked quietly. Leona's throat tightened. She could have lied, could have deflected, could have told him it was none of his business. Michael, she said instead. My partner. Before Rex. What happened to him? The question hung in the air. 3 years of grief compressed into 4 simple words. Fire, she said. Warehouse on the south side. He went in to clear the building. The roof came down before he could get out. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. His jaw worked slightly, like he was processing something familiar, something he understood in a way that most people never would. I'm sorry, he said finally. 2 words, but the way he said them carried weight. He meant them. He knew what it was like to lose someone you worked beside, someone who trusted you, someone you trusted with your life. Leona sat down on the edge of the couch near Rex's head. Her hand found his fur automatically. The warmth of him, the steady rise and fall of his breathing. After Michael died, she said, I thought I would never have a partner again. Not a real one. Not someone I could trust completely. And then they assigned me to the K-9 unit. And Rex. Rex never asked me to be anything except what I am. He never disappointed me. Never lied to me. Never left me behind. Her voice cracked on the last word. Ethan sat down in the armchair across from her. His posture was straight, but not stiff. Alert, but not tense. The posture of a man who had learned to be ready for anything at any moment. Dogs are honest, he said. They don't know how to be anything else. Is that why you stopped yesterday? On the street? Part of it. The other part was watching 3 men hurt something that couldn't fight back. That's not strength. That's cowardice. Bull Braddock has never been called a coward in his life. Then, no one has been telling him the truth. Leona almost smiled at that. Almost. Rex shifted on the couch. Made a small sound. Leona's hand moved to the spot behind his ears. the one that always calmed him down. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "For yesterday, for today, for all of this." Ethan stood, moved toward the door, paused with his hand on the knob. "You don't have to thank me," he said. His voice was quiet now, almost gentle. "Sometimes helping is its own reward. Sometimes it's the only thing that makes sense in a world that doesn't." He opened the door, stepped halfway through. Then he turned back. "If you need anything," he said, "anything at all, I'm in the building on Ashford Street, the one with the green door, 3rd floor." And then he was gone. Leona sat alone with Rex in the quiet apartment. The afternoon light slanted through the windows. Dust motes floated in golden beams. For the first time in 3 long years, she did not feel completely alone. 3 weeks passed like water through fingers. Rex healed, slowly at first, then faster. His ribs knitted back together. The bruising on his kidneys faded from purple to yellow to nothing at all. By the 2nd week, he could walk on his own. By the 3rd, he was climbing the stairs himself, though Leona still hovered behind him like a worried parent. Ethan came by every few days. He never stayed long, never overstayed his welcome. He would knock on her door, ask about Rex, maybe stay for coffee. Then he would leave, like clockwork, like a man who had learned to measure his presence in other people's lives. But each visit, Leona learned something new about him. He had served 16 years in the Navy, for deployments to Afghanistan, 2 to Iraq, 1 to a place he would not name and she did not ask about. He had lost friends, brothers, men who had trusted him with their lives, and he had trusted with his. He did not sleep well. She noticed the shadows under his eyes, the way he sometimes paused mid-sentence, like his mind had drifted somewhere else, somewhere dark. He was looking for something. Peace, he called it. But Leona suspected it was more than that. Forgiveness, maybe, or purpose, or simply a reason to keep waking up in the morning. She understood that feeling better than she wanted to admit. One evening, 3 weeks after the incident on Morrison Street, Ethan sat on her couch while Rex dozed at his feet. The dog had taken a liking to him, would follow him around the apartment, would rest his head on Ethan's boots whenever he sat down. Dogs know, Leona thought. Dogs always know. "Can I ask you something?" she said. Ethan looked up from Rex, nodded. "Why did you really leave the teams?" He was quiet for a long moment, the kind of quiet that meant the answer was complicated, or painful, or both. "I killed someone," he said finally. His voice was flat, distant, in a village outside Kabul. "I thought he was reaching for a weapon. He wasn't. He was reaching for his daughter, trying to shield her from the gunfire." Leona's heart clenched in her chest. "The girl?" she asked. "Fine, physically. But the look on her face when she saw what I did to her father, that look doesn't leave you. That look stays forever. It wasn't your fault." Ethan's jaw tightened. "My finger on the trigger. My responsibility. Fault doesn't matter. What matters is that I did it. And I have to live with that. Every single day for the rest of my life." Silence fell between them. Heavy but not uncomfortable. The silence of 2 people who understood that some wounds never fully heal. They just become part of who you are. "That's why you help," Leona said softly. "Strangers, dogs, anyone who needs it. You're trying to balance the scales." Ethan did not deny it. "Maybe," he said, "or maybe I'm just trying to remember what it feels like to do something good. Something that doesn't end with someone bleeding out in the dirt." Rex lifted his head, looked at Ethan with those deep brown eyes. And in that moment, something shifted between them all. The call came at 2 in the morning. Leona's phone buzzed on her nightstand. She grabbed it, expecting dispatch, expecting another crime scene, another broken body, another reminder of why she had chosen this life and why she sometimes regretted it. It was Ethan. "I need you to come to the building on Ashford," he said. His voice was strange, thick, like he was speaking through water. "Ethan, what's wrong? Just come, please." The line went dead. Leona threw on clothes, grabbed her keys, left Rex sleeping on his bed with a quick scratch behind his ears. Her heart pounded the entire drive. 6 blocks felt like 60. Every red light was an eternity. The building with the green door stood at the end of Ashford Street. She took the stairs 2 at a time, found his door unlocked, pushed it open. Ethan sat on the floor of his kitchen, his back against the refrigerator. His hands were shaking violently. His breath came in short, ragged gasps. Sweat soaked through his shirt. Leona had seen this before. In other cops. In veterans. In anyone who had carried too much for too long. Panic attack. A bad one. She knelt beside him. Did not touch him. Did not crowd him. Just sat. Just waited. Just breathed slowly, deliberately, hoping he would match her rhythm. "I'm here," she said. "I'm right here. You're safe. You're in your apartment. You're home." Minutes passed. Maybe 10. Maybe 20. Slowly, his breathing steadied. His hands stopped trembling. His eyes focused on her face. "Sorry," he whispered. The word came out broken. "Ashamed." "Don't," she said firmly. "Don't apologize. Not for this. Not ever for this. It just hits sometimes. In the middle of the night. I'm back there. In the dust. In the blood. And I can't make it stop." Leona reached out slowly. Gave him time to pull away. He didn't. Her hand found his. Held on tight. "You don't have to make it stop alone," she said. "That's what I'm trying to tell you. What you did for me and Rex. Let me do that for you. Let someone in. Just once. Just to see what it feels like." Ethan looked at her. Really looked. For the first time since she met him, his eyes were not guarded. Not measuring. Not calculating threats and exits. They were just tired. And scared. And human. "I don't know how," he admitted. Leona squeezed his hand tighter. "Neither do I," she said. "But maybe we can figure out together." And in the dim light of that kitchen, surrounded by shadows and silence, two broken people found something neither had expected. A reason to try. The morning after everything changed, Leona woke on Ethan's couch. Sunlight streamed through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she did not remember where she was. Then she heard the coffee pot gurgling in the kitchen, smelled the rich, dark aroma filling the apartment. She sat up, found a blanket draped over her that she did not remember putting there. Ethan stood at the counter, pouring 2 cups. He looked different in the morning light, less like a weapon, more like a man. "How do you feel?" she asked. He turned, handed her a cup. "Better," he said. Human, for the first time in a while. They drank coffee in comfortable silence. Rex was probably wondering where she was. She should call her neighbor. Should check on him. But she did not reach for her phone. "What happens now?" she asked instead. Ethan sat down across from her. That same measured posture. But softer somehow. Like overnight, something in him had unlocked. "I don't know," he admitted. "I'm not good at this. Connections. Trust. All the things normal people do without thinking." "Neither am I," Leona said. "I've been alone for 3 years. Me and Rex. Keeping everyone at arm's length. Telling myself it was safer that way." "Was it?" "No. It was just lonely." Ethan nodded slowly, like he understood that particular kind of loneliness. The kind that protects you by cutting you off. The kind that keeps you safe by making sure no one can ever hurt you again. But also making sure no one can ever help you again either. "I'm going back to work next week," Leona said. "Captain Morrison cleared me. Rex has another 4 weeks before the vet signs off on duty. Will you be okay? Alone in the field? I'll manage. Always do." Ethan set down his coffee cup, looked at her directly. "What if you didn't have to?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if someone was looking out for you? Not as a partner. Not officially. Just someone who makes sure you get home safe. Someone who's there if things go wrong." Leona's heart did something strange. Skipped. Fluttered. Restarted. "Are you offering to be my guardian angel?" she asked. Ethan's mouth twitched. That almost smile she was starting to recognize. "Something like that," he said. "If you'll have me." Leona looked at this man. This broken, beautiful, dangerous, gentle man who had appeared from nowhere and changed everything. "Okay," she said, "but only if I can be yours too." 6 months later, Rex ran across the park with the pure joy of an animal who had forgotten what pain felt like. His ribs had healed completely. His kidneys showed no lasting damage. The vet had cleared him for full duty 3 months ago, and since then, he had been unstoppable. Chasing balls, chasing squirrels, chasing the wind itself, just because he could. Leona sat on a bench and watched him run. The smile on her face felt natural now. Easy, like something she no longer had to force. Ethan sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. 6 months since the day on Morrison Street. 6 months since a man in a blue floral shirt had kicked her partner and changed the course of her life. Bull Braddock was awaiting trial now. Assault on a police officer. Animal cruelty. His father's lawyers were fighting, but the evidence was overwhelming. Multiple witnesses, body camera footage, and Ethan's testimony. He had agreed to testify, had walked into that courtroom and told the truth about what he saw, what he did, what Bull Braddock had done to a dog who was only trying to protect his handler. Justice, Leona had learned, sometimes takes time, but does come. She looked at Ethan, studied the profile of his face in the afternoon light, the scar above his eyebrow, the jaw that could have been carved from stone, the eyes that still held shadows but also held something else now. Hope, purpose, peace. Not perfect peace. Ethan still had nightmares. Still woke, sometimes gasping for air. But the nightmares came less often now. And when they did, Leona was there, holding his hand, breathing with him, reminding him who he was. He had found what he was looking for. Not in a place, not in a mission, in a person. Two persons, actually. A woman with tired eyes who understood loss, and a German shepherd who had taught them both what loyalty really meant. Rex bounded back, dropped a slobbery tennis ball at Ethan's feet, looked up with that eager expression. Ethan laughed, a real laugh. He threw the ball far across the grass. Rex sprinted after it. "Thank you," Leona said softly. "For what?" "For stopping that day. For not walking by." Ethan turned to her, those winter ice eyes warmer now than she had ever seen them. "Thank you for letting me in," he said. "For giving me a reason to keep going." They sat together in the afternoon sun. Two people who had found each other at the lowest points of their lives. Two people who had learned that strength was not about fighting alone. And if this story has touched your heart, I need you to do something right now. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because stories like this deserve to be shared. Leave a comment below. Tell us your story. Tell us about the person or animal who changed your life. We are all connected. Every act of kindness creates ripples. Rex came bounding back, ball in mouth, tail wagging. Leona smiled, reached for Ethan's hand, held on, and somewhere, someone else was about to discover that the heroes we need most are often the ones we least expect. That courage shows up in camouflage and combat boots. That love arrives on four paws with a wagging tail. That the darkest moments can become the beginning of something beautiful, if we just have the courage to let them.